God is my help in every need. God does my every hunger feed. God walks beside me, guides my way through every moment of the day. I now am wise, I now am true, patient, kind, and loving too. All things I am, can do, and be, through Christ the truth that is in me. God is my health, I can't be sick. God is my strength, I'm sailing quick. God is my all, I know no fear, since God and love and truth are here. Amen.
Good morning, everybody. That voice was the voice of Myrtle Fillmore, who in 1889 with her husband Charles Fillmore co-founded what today we appreciate and enjoy as the Worldwide Unity Movement. And she's reading the words from the Prayer of Faith written by a lady named Hannah Moore Kohas. And I believe that by the time we're completed with our sharing this morning, you're going to recognize something beautiful about unity if you don't already know it. And that is that we have always had a tremendous influence of feminine energy. Lots of women have supercharged this movement by being open to their intuitive faculty, which so often we gentlemen are afraid to wander into, so that they can open themselves to a, I believe, more well-rounded understanding of the purpose of spiritual growth in our lives. More on that later. By the way, before you depart our company today, please receive from the ushers in the foyer one of these CDs. I'm going to be talking to you about health and wholeness this morning. These CDs were gifted to all of us at Unity on the Bay by Unity World Headquarters in Unity Village, Missouri. It's called Prepare to be Healed, Meditations for Before and After Medical Treatments by Reverend Michael Moran, who is one of my peers in California. So please take a moment to pick that up for yourself or for someone you know that could be blessed by the words that are included in this meditation. So you may have noticed in that poem that Myrtle read to us, the Prayer of Faith by Hannah Moore Kohas, written so many years ago, there is a line that says, God is my health. How many of you would agree that God is your health? All right, that is the correct response. It is also the polite response to tolerate me this morning. Now, the next part of it is this: I can't be sick. How many of you, here's the real test question now, how many of you believe you cannot be sick? Cannot be sick. All right, it's a little harder to raise your hand on that one, isn't it? Why is that? Because most of us have been on the planet long enough to have experienced at least a common cold or a flu, if not something more significant. You say, what do you mean I can't be sick? God is my health, I can't be sick. Where do you get off with that kind of a statement? I was just sick last week, or I was sick last month, or I have someone who just received a terminal diagnosis. Whatever it might be, how can you say that I cannot be sick? What I am saying when I deliver that statement is that there is a truth about who you are, my friends, a spiritual reality. That spiritual reality cannot be sick. It cannot be sick because it is made in the image and likeness of God. Ergo, it knows nothing about disease or illness or lack or limitation or inharmony or conflict of any kind. So the truth of your being, and it's an important distinction, when I say God is my health, I can't be sick, I'm talking about the spiritual reality that though moment by moment I may not be consistently invested in, I believe to be the truth of who I am. In Scripture, we read these words in 1 Corinthians 16th chapter, 51st through 53rd verses. Lo, I tell you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For this perishable nature must put on the imperishable, and this mortal nature must put on immortality. Now, these are words, admonitions coming to us from Paul, who was trying to let us know that you can escape conscious awareness of your ultimate spiritual identity for a matter of moments, but you will ultimately release the idea that you are a mere mortal being so that you may embrace your destiny, which is the remembrance of the spiritual nature of who you are. It's very interesting and sometimes a little alarming and occasionally disturbing that we will always experience in our life a reflection of whatever identity we have accepted for ourselves. So if we believe that we are mere mortal beings, my friends, that is exactly how we will show up, because according to our belief, it's done unto us. So the most important question I ever ask you from this platform is, what do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Because your answer to that question, which, by the way, no one else can answer on your behalf. I know you've gone to religious authorities and psychotherapists and doctors and all kinds of places to try to find out, what am I? What am I doing here? But I'm telling you this morning, you're the only one that can identify, can define yourself. And according to your definition of yourself, so will go the experiences of your life. So how do we get free of this perishable nature so that we can clothe ourselves in immortality? And the answer is simply to remember who you are, to redefine yourself according to spiritual alignment and not according to all the compelling reports of time and space as delivered by the five senses. Now, that's not easy to do because we are all addicted. Did you know that? I'm sorry if I'm the first one to inform you, but you're a heavy-duty addict. And what you're addicted to is material manifestation. If it's happening out here, if I can see it, taste it, touch it, then it must be. But remember, my friends, that everything that's going out here is merely the report of what's going on in here. So as long as you're looking out here, that's going to be your experience. The moment that you recognize this is a reflection of an internal dynamic, now you're starting to get somewhere. Now you're realizing that by simply changing your mind, you can change your entire life. All you have to do is redefine yourself. You game? Time to take on a new definition. And actually, all you're doing is remembering a long-forgotten secret, that you are made in the image, the power, the glory, the grandeur of God, of the Almighty. That's how amazing you are. So I mentioned at the onset about the role that women have played in the unity movement. And I think that really is one of the reasons why I love this movement so much. Because it was founded by a husband and a wife, by a man and a woman, and you see the influences of both the masculine nature and the feminine nature which dwell in each and every one of us together in this philosophy. And a large part of that is because of the natural ability of women to intuit. And I believe Myrtle Fillmore was very much an intuitive. And I think that she contributed to Charles's rather businesslike and scientific approach to assembling the teachings that make up the unity movement as we know it today. I just discovered this morning that today is the birthday of Emma Curtis Hopkins. And if you don't know who this woman is, she was a huge influence. She was the teacher of teachers. She was the teacher of Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. So again, powerful feminine energy. We also had H. Emily Cady, a lady who wrote the basic textbook commissioned by Charles and Myrtle Fillmore for the unity movement called Lessons in Truth. And we also had one of my favorites, Imelda Octavia Shanklin, who wrote a mind-blowing, did you hear that? A mind-blowing book called What Are You? And the reason it's so mind-blowing is because it really encourages you to look at the erroneous definitions that you've put into your definition of yourself and get back into alignment with the spiritual reality of who you are. And she says this in the pages of What Are You? The real world is the world in which God is recognized. The fictitious world is the world in which God is not recognized. Real world, God is recognized. Fictitious world, God is not recognized. Now, does that mean that God is not there because God is not recognized? No, just because you don't recognize the presence of God doesn't mean the presence of God is not with you in each and every moment of your eternal existence. What she's trying to tell us here is that there is a real world and there is a fictitious world. And I know this is difficult to grasp early on a Sunday morning, a rainy day when you're still a little bit foggy maybe. But the reality is that there is a real you. And then there is a fictitious you that you've made up in your own mind and that you can change in any moment that you choose. So the question always before you is, what am I investing in? The real identity of myself as perfect, happy, healthy, whole, and free, exactly as God created me? Or am I investing in a fictitious idea that I am subject to lack, limitation, illness, despair? Your choice, my friends, my choice, every day, every moment. And it's not always easy because a lot of this conditioning is deeply ingrained. From the very first time we arrived on the planet, we've been told lies about the truth of who we are. That's my belief anyway. And I'm ready to release those erroneous stories with all due respect to the benevolence that was intended by the people that offered them to me. I'm ready for a new definition. So go back with me in time, if you will, to 1886. Myrtle Fillmore is 41 years old. Charles Fillmore is a mere 32 years old. And I always knew there was quite an age discrepancy between Charles and Myrtle, 9 years it is, I think. But I never really got the idea that when Myrtle first experienced her healing, Charles was like a kid, 32, and she was 41. And she had been always told throughout her childhood that disease ran in the family, that she was susceptible, vulnerable to tuberculosis, and sure enough, it came upon her, and she was given a terminal diagnosis, 6 months to live, and things were not looking very good for Myrtle or Charles at that time. She went to a lecture, having exhausted all of the means of medical healing that she could. She went to a lecture delivered by a metaphysician named Dr. E.B. Weeks. He was from the Illinois Metaphysical College. And he said these words that changed Myrtle's life forever. And I want you to hear something as I prepare to share these words with you. One woman in a state of severe disadvantage, disappointment, and disalignment goes and sits in a lecture just like you are right now. Hears the words of a man just like you are hearing now. But more than the words of a man, I believe she felt something in the depths of her being, in her heart. She was given a clue as to the reality of who she was. These are the words that evening when a near-dead Myrtle Fillmore was sitting in a sanctuary not unlike this one. And Dr. E.B. Weeks said, I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. Now, the moment, my friends, that you can say that and really mean it is the moment that you are free from despair for the rest of your life. According to your belief, it is done unto you. Myrtle Fillmore said, I was supposed to be dying or very close to it of tuberculosis, a disease that was supposed to belong to my father's family. The truth came to me, a great revelation showing me that I am a child of the one whole and perfect mind created to express the health that God is. So I ask you again, from whence does your healing come? From God. God is my health. God is the source of my wholeness and my well-being. Now, I'm all for the latest campaigns in terms of nutrition and exercise and proper care and treatment of the physical body. But I'm telling you this, until you come to the point where you know at the very depth of your being that your health comes from God, you will still be susceptible to the common cold, to a 24-hour flu, to a terminal diagnosis. Until you reach that point where you know, fully remember who you are made in the image and likeness of God. In that one evening, Myrtle completely changed her story because she completely changed her identity. She went on to say, I promised God that I would never, never again retard the free flow of life through my mind and body by any false word or thought, that I would always bless it and encourage it with true thoughts and words in its wise work of building up my body temple. You see, according to your belief, so comes your storyline to your physical body, and it responds. I am vulnerable, I am weak, I am subject to illness, I am subject to all manner of ill fortune, whatever it might be. You're just inviting that right into your experience. You're calling it forth from the universe, my friends. And the universe is very accommodating. It will deliver exactly according to your belief. But you're free, remember this, to change your belief, to change your mind in any given moment. You just have to remember who you are. In the face of the medical diagnosis, in the face of being down and out and on your back in bed with a cold or a flu or any ailment, the most important thing you can ever do, my dear friends, is remember who you are. And I'm telling you, as soon as you remember who you are and you begin to invest that remembrance with your belief and with your faith, that remembrance then becomes a realization. And that realization will be life-changing. And it will be the presence and the power of God working in, through, and as you that has made it so. My friend Kevin Rice is sitting down here in the front row. He's going to be doing a workshop this afternoon right after I'm finished with all my verbose commentary. And he's going to be telling you, I'm sure, at some point during the afternoon, that you always have an option of listening to one of two voices. Those two voices are these: the voice of love and the voice of fear. The voice of love is always a voice speaking to you from the real world. The voice of fear is always speaking to you from the fictitious world. So my question in departing your company this morning is simply this: would you rather be what God has made you to be, or what you have invented yourself to experience? In any moment, you can change your mind. In any moment, you can change your world. God bless you.
Come on and bless the Lord with me. Come on and bless the Lord. Bless the Lord with me. Everybody bless the Lord. Bless the Lord with me. Come on and bless the Lord. Bless the Lord with me. Everybody bless the Lord. The Lord with me. Come on and bless the Lord. Bless the Lord with me. Everybody bless the Lord with me. Bless the Lord with me. Sing the Lord out with me. Bless the Lord with me. And sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. Sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. Come on and sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. Sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. Let's sing up a little bit. Come on and clap your hands. Clap your hands with me. Come on and clap your hands. Clap your hands with me. Everybody clap your hands with me. Clap your hands with me. Come on and clap your hands. Clap your hands with me. Come on, sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. Come on and sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. Everybody sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. Come on and sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right, check it out. Here you go. Everybody wave your hands. Everybody wave your hands. Everybody wave your hands. Everybody raise your hands. Come on and move your feet. Come on and move your feet. If you're sitting in your seat, get up and move your feet. Put those hands together. Can I get a scream at you guys this morning? Sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. Come on and sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. Everybody sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. Come on and sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. Do you dance with me? Do your dance with me. Come on and do your dance. Oh, I see some good dancing out there. Everybody do your dance with me.